So I didn't add too much exposition because I wanted to kind of leave it as a cliffhanger of like leaving it not a cliffhanger. I wanted to leave it to the reader's imagination of what really happened to Marcy. So I gave them a little direction into saying that Marcy stood up to Jeremy and that something happened that made Marcy need to run, and they don't know for sure what happened or where Jeremy is, where or what happened to Marcy, or even where Marcy's husband is because they never found the body. So I wanted to leave it up to the imagination because that's something I really like. That was not in my book, but it's something I really like within books. I like to be able to imagine what happens. I like to be able to use my own imagination and my own perspective to finish a story and to give a little bit of details to what could have happened. So I left that there, but I gave a little direction on what happened before Marcy ran off. And I do talk about so when Lucy comes back, so not when Lucy comes back, when Lucy comes into the story, I try to incorporate how Lucy also changes because Lucy goes from being an only child to being a sister. So Lucy was very independent and didn't really depend on everybody. And so when she came into the family, she needed to learn how to work together with sisters to kind of like collaborate with them. And then I also showed how Eliza had to become the oldest sister. She had to take on all the responsibility of taking care of her younger sisters. She had to take on the responsibility of all of these things, meanwhile having a life of her own. And Clara had to become the middle sister and also become a parent at the same time. So I tried to show this, but it was kind of difficult, which is why I did make it 5 months apart. I did make see 5 months later because I felt that if I just kept doing it, it would just be dragging on. So uh, I wrote down a little bit about like what was going on with Lucy at the time, how Eliza took over watching Kate for a couple of days, how Clara was being irresponsible and was being like the middle child, or not the middle child, was being like the youngest child again because she was kind of having, she didn't want to take over the middle child because that would really mean that Marcy is gone and Marcy's not coming back because if she takes over the middle child, I didn't write that down. I just tried to make it to where the readers could figure it out that if Clara becomes the middle child and starts acting like the middle child, that's it. She is the middle child. Marcy's not coming back. It's never going to be the same. And she has trouble with change in her life. She doesn't like it. And so that's why I make this part where she's a little irresponsible. And then 5 months later, um, it talks about like what the few months were like, and it just gives a brief explanation of who the girls are, seeing like Eliza's a realist, and then what it's like living together, and then it shows Clara slowly accepting the middle child role and slowly trying to get back to as normal as possible, but she didn't want to like tell her feelings to anybody else, so she was becoming more independent as the middle child usually is. And see, as you can see here, it says that she felt like she was going to explode if she didn't let out her feelings, and that's because usually the oldest child gets a lot of attention and then the youngest child gets a lot more attention because they're the baby of the family, and so the middle child has to learn to be more independent. And so I made it to where she becomes more independent, and by doing this she bottles up her feelings because she doesn't want to put a burden on anybody else. She has to take care of Lucy and then take care of Eliza because both of them are not really working well together. Uh it's a new relationship and it's a new dynamics of it's a new sisterhood dynamic, and so I tried to show this within all of that. And then I